Hello and welcome into this week's ARCA Series Rewind show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, we are currently in our hashtag Race to 1K. Go down below, hit that subscribe button. It is free to do. The quicker we get to 1,000 subscribers, the quicker we can do mobile live streaming when we are at the track, and that will vastly improve both the quality and quantity of coverage that we are able to give you when we are at the track covering these ARCA races or whatever other races we might be at the track doing. So, let's talk about today's ARCA West race, the second of two ARCA West races this weekend. Remember, they were in action yesterday from Evergreen Speedway in Washington. Today, they went just down the road into Oregon, to Roseburg, Oregon, to Douglas County Speedway. The ENEOS NAPA Auto Parts 150, and this race had a lot more going on in it than yesterday's race. At yesterday's race, if it wasn't for a couple of debris cautions in it, we'd have gone all 100 laps green. But it really didn't even make a difference in that because Blaine Perkins just absolutely dominated yesterday's race. Well, we had a lot more going on in this race. We had a lot more wrecks and cautions and things like that going on to keep things interesting, and it wasn't completely dominated by one driver like it was yesterday. Now, we had one driver that spent a lot of time out front in this race, and we'll get to that momentarily, but there was at least a lot more racing going on back in the pack, and I think that was helped by the fact that we had so many caution flags that bunched the field up, and we got really good racing on those restarts. We had 6 caution flags total in this race for 24 laps, and you can see here, all of them were for incidents, surprisingly enough. No breaks or pit stops. We went all 150 laps on the same set of tires and the same load of fuel. The 27 of Bobby Hillis spun a couple times in turn 2, both on lap 14 and 127. Bridget Burgess spun on lap 29. Jack Wood spun on lap 59. Takuma Koga spun off of turn 2 and backed it into the infield on lap 115, and then Todd Souza got into Holly Holland getting into turn 3 on lap 135. Those would be your incidents on the day. We had another spin, I believe it was Bobby Hillis at one point that spun in turn 2 and didn't bring out the caution. So it wasn't a great day for Bobby Hillis overall. It was one of those days for a lot of folks, and we had a lot of incidents going on in this race. Now, I mentioned we didn't have one driver running away and dominating this entire race like Blaine Perkins did yesterday, but we did have one certain driver that led a lot of this race. Gio Scelzi started from the pole, led the first 15 laps, but then after that, once again, it was all Blaine Perkins. After Blaine took the lead on lap 16, he never looked back. He had some competition. Sometimes it was Gio Scelzi. A lot of the time, it was Gracie Trotter. A couple times, it was Jesse Love. Trevor Huddleston stuck his nose up there a couple times. Most of the race, though, it actually was Gracie Trotter was his closest competition in this race. Trotter actually came very close at one point to taking the lead from Blaine Perkins when his car jumped out of gear off of turn 2 one lap, but he was able to hold the lead from that, and that was really the closest anybody ever got in this race after Blaine took the lead for his third career ARCA Series West victory. Remember, he won one of the twin races at Utah a few weeks ago, and now has gone back-to-back, winning both of the races in the Pacific Northwest this weekend. A great run out of Blaine Perkins. We're seeing a lot of good things out of him, and he's slowly chipping into that points lead from Jesse Love. Has not quite gotten there yet, but he has closed it up a lot after the last couple races. And like we said after yesterday's race, Blaine is the serious title contender with Jesse Love right now, and I think that's going to go right down to the wire. Jesse's had a couple of off races yesterday and today. I say off races, but he finished 4th yesterday, and as you can see here on the results, finished 3rd today. I say off races. Those normally would not be off races for a lot of people, but when you're the championship contender and your biggest championship rival won these last 2 races, yeah, those can be considered kind of off races. So looking to see something more out of Jesse Love here in a couple weeks at Colorado. I figure he'll be back on his game here in a couple weeks, and if not, he may have some issues going forward through the remainder of the season. Gracie Trotter, career best run today in that 2nd position. I think that first career win for Gracie is just around the corner. She has had a fantastic season, has been slowly progressing and getting better each week. I think if that first win doesn't come at Colorado in a couple weeks, it's just around the corner, and she's going to get it by the end of the season. She's knocking on the door every single week, and I think it's just a matter of time before we see that 99 car in victory lane. Like I said, Jessie Love came home in the 3rd position. Teammate Gio Scelzi back in the 4th position after starting on the pole. Good run for Gio. Once he lost the lead, got back up to 2nd at one point. It was really just musical chairs for that 2nd position between all of these drivers in the top 5 from 2nd to 5th. Trotter, Love, Scelzi, and Trevor Huddleston, who finished 5th. It was really kind of musical chairs between all of them as they would battle each other. Somebody would be in the preferred line on the restart once, and they'd get around the other drivers, and then it would shift back and forth throughout the run, and on restarts, they ended up in this order, but it really could have gone any way between any of these 4 drivers as to who finished where in the top 5 in this race. Blaine Perkins kind of had him covered, but from him on back, the 3 BMR Toyotas and Trevor Huddleston, they were all kind of flip-flopping throughout the race. Rest of your top 10, Jack Wood in 6th, Holly Holland there in 7th, Takuma Koga 8th, Bridget Burgess 9th, and Bobby Hillis rounded out the top 10. Again, another 11-car field like yesterday at Evergreen. Todd Souza came home in the 11th position after going 12 laps down in this race. So that's your results from Douglas County. If we have the post-race Zoom call, I will put the thoughts from your top finishers right here. As of the time of recording, I haven't seen it yet. So if we don't have it by the time editing is being done, let's go ahead and look at your point standings following this race. Jessie Love still your points leader, but only now by 2 points over Blaine Perkins. That title fight has really tightened up after these last couple races. It's going to be exciting here over the final stretch of the year to see who ends up with this championship between Jessie Love and Blaine Perkins. Gracie Trotter back in 3rd, 27 points off the lead. Very, very close, but just off of it, and I don't know that unless she goes out and wins out for the rest of the season, wins every race for the rest of the year, I don't think she can get back into this championship battle, but a good season nonetheless, and I think it can only get better from here as she continues to improve on her finishes week in and week out. Trevor Huddleston there in 4th, 30 points back. Gio Scelzi in 5th, 35 points back. Todd Souza has fallen back to the 6th position now after his disappointing run today in 11th, and Holly Holland there in the 7th position. Jack Wood has moved his way now into the top 10 there in the 10th position. But that's your point standings following the ENEOS NAPA 150 from Douglas County, Roseburg, Oregon, and I believe that'll do it for today's ARCA Rewind. The main ARCA Menard series back in action tomorrow, or probably today by the time this goes up, 1 p.m. Eastern from the Irish Hills, Michigan International Speedway. Of course, we'll have a watch party for that. If you're not hanging out for those watch parties, you need to be. It is a fun time, and definitely for these Track Pass and MAV TV races, we keep you updated on what is happening in those races, and we just have fun discussions throughout the race as well. It is just a good time in these watch parties. If you're not hanging out there, you need to be. 1 p.m. this afternoon from Michigan for the next ARCA Menards Series race. And then, of course, got lots of stuff coming up for you throughout the week as we usually do, so keep an eye peeled for all of that. If you haven't done it already, again, we are in our hashtag Race to 1K, so you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button. It is free to do, and ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, hit that big thumbs up button for me if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. And as always, want to give a big shout out and thank you to our Patreon supporters, President Gambit and Regional Manager William Holmes. Thank you for everything you do, and your continued support of RNN is much appreciated. If you want to be a patron of RNN, the link is down below in the description. It is patreon.com/racingnewsnow. But I believe that's going to do it for this one. So at that, this has been the ARCA Menard Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.